From the City of Angels, you're listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's podcast, something for the end of the year. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am your father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. I am the formerly mentioned James Salazar, a.k.a. The Media. How's everyone doing today? I am recording this on the last day of the year. And what a remarkable year we went through. We had a pandemic, a fire that almost destroyed all of Australia. We had the Black Lives, George Floyd happened. We had an election. We have a new president. We have a vaccine. I got COVID. I had friends that got COVID. I know some people who died from it. And we're here. The goal line. The last day of the year. And I wanted to come with a series that I'm going to do every month called What You Can and Can't Control. And this year, more than any other year, COVID has taught us big lessons on what we can and can't control. In a society where some people play along and where others don't. And where trust in the government has waned. As we're in California, we have the highest numbers of coronavirus cases, and we have been shut down majority of the whole year. Maybe about 2 weeks we weren't shut down, and we got shut down immediately. And we see other states similar to ours who have fully opened up, like Florida and Texas, who also have big numbers. And everybody seems to act like what is proposed for how the citizens should act work when we're seeing obviously they don't work. And quite frankly, no one knows the answer to how to deal with COVID. And in that sense, a lot of people feel out of control. A lot of people are not following laws, and people like to call these people stupid or rebellious. But the fact of the matter is, people are trying to gain some sense of control back based upon a government that does not know what it's doing. I social distance and put on my mask because it eases everybody else's anxiety. But I would not be surprised down the line we find out that none of those measures worked. It goes farther than where you're standing. You should have been 10 feet away, and you should have probably had a chemical mask to keep it away. But that's neither here nor there. But we have a lot of people who died. We have 300,000 people die in this country. That is an unfathomable number that we have to realize, and we also can't control. And the idea that any president could fix a pandemic within a year, that in the process of fighting a pandemic, that there will be some balls dropped, of course, there's going to be balls dropped. And there's going to be some mishandling. But we must always rest upon that we were predicted to lose 2 million people, and we've so far kept it to 400,000. I foresee, as we have a vaccine that seems to be working, And that's going to be a phenomenal feat if it turns out that there is no ill effects from it, and the population starts to get inoculated from the virus. Then that's a big win for the United States. It's sort of a big win for Donald Trump, even though he's on his way out. I mean, Joe Biden, he has a V-shaped economy. It started to go back down because of the shutdowns, but it was on its way to a V-shaped economy, and almost probably a half a year to the virus is gone. Donald Trump has left him with two gifts: a vaccine and an economy that seem to be coming back. And if he screws it up, I mean, he's given a softball. We'll see what he does with it. But it'll be glaring if the economy poops out and there's something that goes wrong with the virus. Though I don't believe it's in the power of the president to fix a pandemic quickly. But Joe Biden from the campaign said he should have. Donald Trump should have fixed it, and this is why we need him out. So that sword cuts both ways. He better figure, if it keeps on going, he better figure out. But Donald Trump gave him two gifts. Donald Trump's out. Joe Biden gets a V-shaped economy. He can jump on that, make sure it keeps on going up. We have a vaccine that probably will eradicate the whole virus by the end of summer. But I think people will start getting back to living their old lives by summer. And these things you sort of can't control because they're not in your control. And it's an amazing thing. So many people freak out, and this is in general, freak out, manipulate, get violent, get angry, get depressed, get suicidal, because they're focusing on things they can't control. It is not in their power or their purview to fix, but they obsess over it time and time again. They obsess over things that they can't change, like things that have happened to them, maybe abusive or traumatic. You can't change those situations anymore. Or people in their lives acting certain ways. They can't change them and make them act the way that you want. And people lose their shit. They're constantly highly intelligent people, highly emotionally intelligent people, at times focus on things they can't control, and they lose it. They start to make bad decisions. They start to have destructive lives because they don't realize that the thing they're focusing on, they can do nothing about. You know, when you join AA, one of the first things they tell you to say to yourself is, and I'm paraphrasing, that you pray to God or your higher being that you believe in, that you pray, God, let me have the wisdom to understand what I can and can't control. So you don't waste your time on what you can't control and you start to fix what you can control. Because a lot of substance abuse is a reaction to the harsh truth that there are things in life that you can't control. And they just happen to be the things that you really want to control. And this knowledge that you can't control overwhelms you, gives you anxiety and worry. And when they get too much, you start to manipulate, get angry or get violent, or start yelling or get depressed or feel suicidal because you can't control people, you can't control outcomes, and you can't control circumstances. You can only control yourself and how you react to those circumstances, how you perceive those circumstances. And the key to getting over things that you can't control is by focusing on the things you can. You see, there's so many things in your life that you can't control that if you focused on them, if you gave them the importance that you do to the things you can't control, they will fill up your life that you would not have time for the things you can't. The things you can control take a lifetime to perfect. A lifetime. And there's so many. And quite frankly, they're harder to do. But if you focus on the things you can control, you ain't got no time for the things you can't. And that's the truth. The reason why you are focusing on things you can't control, because the thought of controlling things you can do, that means real work. That means real focus. That means real purpose. And some people like to focus on the things they can't control because they can't control them. There is no movement. It's just an exercise of feeling sorry for yourself. But actually controlling the things that are in your power means it's time to grow up. It's time to put on your big boy pants or big girl pants, as they say. It's time to do hard work. It's time to do work. I promise you, if you focus on the things that you can change, they are so abundant and they are so rewarding and they take a lifetime to perfect that you won't have time to focus on the things you can't. So I'm coming with a series, and we're going to delve deep in the things you can control and how important they are, and that how you may have overlooked some of them as insignificant. Others you might have overlooked because they seem too daunting, or your mindsets and modalities have not let you finish the things you can finish. So we're going to try to change your mentality toward the things you can control and have your life focus on the things you can control. And realize even in the things you can control, there are things you can't control. And there's some things that you feel you can't control that you can. And we're going to bring clarity to those situations. So let's do an exercise. I want you to write out everything that's worrying you, that's giving you anxiety, that's making you depressed. And I want you to circle them if they're in your control. And then I want you to write out everything that you think is not in your control. And circle them if you're lying to yourself, and they really are. You just don't want to do it. This is very important. And I want you to start focusing on those things you can control. And just disregard. Go away. Push back those things you can't. Because they ain't going to add 1 inch to your height. As Jesus says. It's not going to change anything. You need to focus on the things you can change. So as we go through this series, I will pick many of things that may seem insignificant and some might seem daunting, but we're going to go through it and bring wisdom to these situations, and hopefully you have a life of purpose, focusing on the things you can control, the things that can bring inspiration to other people's lives as well as your own. So as we go on this journey for the next year, last year I gave a message called Taking Full Responsibility. And it's pretty good. It's one of my most listened to podcasts. And it's funny because this year, the one I'm giving you now, is about understanding what you can't take full responsibility for and what you can. Too many people are taking responsibility for the things they have no right nor no way to take responsibility for or change. Except take responsibility for the things you can change. So go listen to that. Let's hope for a great new year. It's probably going to end slow, but you must always get back on that treadmill. We just came out of a devastating year, and some of you may have lost people, and some of you may have lost jobs, and some of you may have lost businesses, but you just can't give up. You can't give in. And maybe that dream you had is no longer feasible, or maybe it is, but you either get a new dream, get a new purpose, or reignite the old one. But what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, which I'm not going to let you if you listen to this podcast, is give up or give in. You have the ability to turn it around. That you do have control over. So let's focus on the things we can control. Let's get rid of the things we can't. And let's start to create a better year for ourselves. So enjoy your new year. Celebrations. Don't get too crazy on New Year's Eve, which is today. And be smarter and wiser about your decisions. Look it, I'm not above it. I also focus on things that I can't control. And I try to get myself to realize those things before I give so much time and my emotions to wear me out over things I can't. It's a constant battle. But it's a battle that must be fought. And it's a productive battle to make you productive, to make you efficient. Focus on the things you can control. Now, my friends, if you want to follow me on any of my social media platforms, I'm on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I will also be putting this series on YouTube, but my podcast subscribers will get it first. So, my friends, as the storm of life come against you, and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall and take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says: give me your best shot. Strike the music.
I am a robot.